I suppose the perspective we'd be coming at on this is to look at the fact that we're living in an energy cost of living crisis. Just earlier this week, actually, Dara, I met a man. He's on disability benefit. His income every week is €317, and he got hit with an electricity bill for €515, which is causing him enormous stress. So, in that kind of context, when bills are high right across the country, wind farms are the best and cheapest and most affordable form of new electricity generation. Every single month, when we send these figures into Clear FM as well, you see the price of electricity on the wholesale market drop when wind energy is pushing off dirty imported fossil fuel and is putting clean, affordable Irish energy onto the system. That helps for Irish consumers. There's a report last year which estimated that between 2020 and 2023 alone, so at the height of the previous fossil fuel crisis, and remember we've had two now in 5 years, the electricity bill of Irish people was cut by more than €300 per person. So that's a real concrete difference, a real contribution that wind energy makes for Irish electricity consumers. And then when we build these wind farms, not only is there a contribution in terms of bringing down costs, there's a contribution to the local economy. Wind farms already built in Clare are putting between €4.5 million, something like that, into county council in rates that are paid, and that helps pay for local roads, that helps pay for local libraries, that helps pay for local investment, and helps keep rates low for other people. So there are those really key benefits from building these wind farms. It's about energy security. It's about more affordable power for Irish families, for Irish businesses who are struggling so hard at the moment. And it's also about investing in rural Ireland and putting money into counties that desperately need it.
And look, while the benefits of renewable energy are clear, and we know there's a conscious effort to move away from a reliance on fossil fuels and to be a bit more dependent, I'm sure, Justin, you'd also acknowledge the concerns of local communities who feel there's a proliferation of wind farms going in near their home. There was already a Cahermurphy Windfarm that I believe is in development or secured planning at the least. There's the Windfarm Wind Farm, which is not too far away between Kilmihil and Kilmihil. They don't want what they've described as a ring of steel. They don't want the shadow. They don't want the noise. They don't want the flicker. They don't want the intrusion on their visual amenity. We've seen with other wind farms that have been refused in the past, there's been Natura impact statements that have clearly outlined concerns for local habitats, local biodiversity, local wildlife. And I think it's fair to say that a lot of host communities don't want that hassle or the increased traffic coming there with, I suppose, heavy goods vehicles and construction and all those sort of things. They see this as a very short-term jobs benefit too for what they would consider a long-term hassle.
Well, I suppose the long-term benefit from building those wind farms is more affordable electricity. It's being less dependent on imported fossil fuels. You know, we don't want a situation where whoever is in the White House or the Kremlin is deciding how much Irish electricity consumers and NS are paying for their power. We want to have control of that ourselves. And that means building Irish wind farms, which is the most affordable form of new electricity generation. And you're absolutely right. You know, when people hear a wind farm is coming to this area, they're going to have questions and they're going to have concerns. And you've mentioned a number of them there. I think what we need to be doing as people who are trying to develop these projects is not just to engage with the community and to listen to those concerns, but also to respond to them. So there's actually an enormous amount of effort and research put into the development and design of turbines to try and reduce the amount of noise that comes from them. They're far quieter than they were, 15, 20 years ago, and we'd like to make them quieter again. In terms of shadow flicker, what we're trying to do at the moment is build the turbines so that if the shadow starts to come over homes nearby, the turbine will actually switch off. So you won't have that kind of shadow flicker effect, which again, I know is a concern that people have advanced in the past. But I suppose from my own perspective, I have family in Kilkenny living within 500 metres of a single turbine. They have another wind farm on the ridge behind them. I have friends who literally every single day are not just near wind farms, but physically inside operating wind turbines as they spin. And I suppose talking to them and their lived experience of that, I think really helps me understand that the technology is not the challenge that maybe people make it out to be. And I think there was a really interesting study done by the SEAI in 2023. So this isn't a wind energy industry study. This isn't anything we paid for or involved in. And what they found when they spoke to people living within a kilometre of existing Irish wind farms, more than 2/3 said, you know what, we need to build more of these. And to me, that's a sign that once the wind farms are built and operating, people can get used to them, people can adapt to them, and people can understand what they do, which is reduce our dependence on imported gas, reduce our electricity bills, and reduce the carbon emissions that are driving the climate emergency.